Good afternoon, everyone. I want to give just a second for our Facebook Live feed to come online. I think we're good to go. My name is Stephen with the Flint, Genesee Chamber of Commerce. We wanted to just offer up this open forum opportunity for members, non-members, business community, nonprofits, anybody that has a question to be able to ask that question. We may not be able to answer every single one of them, but we're keeping record of those. And if we can't get to it here, we'll definitely report back to you. First thing I want to mention is the webinars that you're seeing today and a whole slew of other resources are on our website, flintgenesee.org/toolkit. That's a really, really phenomenal resource, and our team is updating it pretty much hourly. As soon as we get info that needs to be shared, we're putting it up. And with that, I want to introduce our panelists, all great colleagues of mine. First, Alaina, Wiens, our Director of Marketing and the Convention and Visitors Bureau. Nicole Williams, she is the Director of Human Resources. Adrian Walker is Director of Governmental Affairs and Community Relations. And Tyler will be joining us a little later. Tyler Rossmaessler is our Director of Economic Development. He's actually on a webinar right now with another group of folks discussing all of the different programs available to our small businesses. So he'll join shortly. With that, I want to hand it over to Alaina to kick off our conversation. We're going to do a round of updates from everyone. And then at the end, we will take all of your questions through Facebook Live and through Zoom. With that, Alaina, take it away.
Thank you. So yeah, as you said, I work with both the Marketing and the Convention and Visitors Bureau teams at the Chamber. As I'm sure you can imagine, these teams are both very busy, just like everybody else is. There's a lot of information coming out every day. Sometimes it seems like every minute, with updates about funding opportunities, resources, things that we're all trying to help each other navigate, ways that we can connect to each other, ways that we can support each other. So both in marketing and with the Convention and Visitors Bureau team, we've really been doing our best to stay on top of the information that's coming out, read through what we can about what resources are available, and try to figure out the best ways to connect our partners with those things that we're learning about. So we've been doing a lot of reading over the last day or so around the CARES Act, trying to understand that better. There are a lot of really, really great resources out there from organizations like the U.S. Travel Association. There are other chamber organizations. I happen to see more travel information than other things because that's kind of where I'm tuned in, but lots of pieces around eligibility, things that are available for different types of businesses, sizes of businesses in different scenarios. So that's where we really have been spending a lot of our energy, in addition to reaching out to our partners as best as we can. So especially with the CVB team, we work very directly with our hotels in the county, and we've been doing our best to stay in touch with them to find out what challenges they have, what information we can help support them with, and really just kind of reach out when we can, be another human on the other end of the phone to listen and be there if we're able to. I've been getting updates probably, well, many daily, but one really great resource for me has been the Michigan Association of CVBs, and they send out sort of a digest each day of things that have been released or updated that might be interesting, especially to the tourism industry. The Chamber's Facebook page actually just put out a post that has some information about a partnership between the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association with the Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development. Wanted to make sure I got that right. That will allow restaurants to start selling their food and pantry items to consumers, which is something that they weren't able to do before. So if you're a restaurant owner or employee out there that's interested in learning more about that, there's a link on our Facebook page. But from what I've been able to gather so far, it's mainly a matter of making sure that you're labeling your items properly and following those guidelines, and then you should be good to go. So there's more information online, and if you have more questions about that specifically or anything else travel related, we can do our best to get that information out to you.
I'm going to share everyone's contact info in the chat section as well as on our Facebook Live. So any questions that you have for any of us, feel free to reach out directly, or again, post those questions in the Facebook Live or through the Zoom chat function. Thanks, Alaina.
Thank you.
Next, we'd like to hear from Nicole Williams. She's our fearless Human Resources Director and has some information to share. It seems our internet has been a little glitchy today. So let's give Nicole a second to catch up. There we go. Nicole, there we go. Good. Take it away, Nicole.
Sorry about this unstable internet connection for some reason. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to talk about actually two things. So one is the Family First Coronavirus Response Act that went into effect on April 1st. It does not impact employers who have 500 employees or more. So if you have less than 500 employees, this does impact you. There was a notice that employers have to post in their workplace. They can either post it online or they can post it at the worksite if you guys are still open. What this act does is that it expanded paid sick leave benefits, as well as changed the eligibility for FMLA. So for those who are familiar with the FMLA protocol, most people have to work 12 weeks and work 1,250 hours to receive FMLA benefits. That is no longer the case under the COVID-19 Family First Response Act. So it expands FMLA benefits to people who have been employed for as little as 30 days. And it also provides an additional 10 weeks of leave. But they have to meet the eligibility requirements, and those are related to any type of illness that they're experiencing with the COVID-19. The other thing I want to touch on is unemployment. So there's been so many questions regarding the unemployment insurance agency and how do people collect their benefits. Well, we know that the system has definitely been overwhelmed. Steve Gray, the director of the Michigan Unemployment Insurance Agency, said that at the highest week during the Great Recession, they had 76,000 claims taken in 2008 and 2009. And they have matched 76,000 claims in one day a couple of times just here recently. So the big misnomer is that if somebody has already applied for unemployment benefits for the state Michigan benefits of $360 a week, can they still get the pandemic unemployment insurance agency benefits, which is an additional $600? And yes, if they are eligible, it is considered the uninsurance agency benefit for pandemic cases if they are experiencing illness symptoms, have been exposed to somebody, has to take care of somebody, or their school is closed, or the child care is closed, and they have to stay home. Those are the eligibility requirements to receive the additional $600. It also, Governor Whitmer also expanded it to go from 26 to 39 weeks for unemployment insurance benefits. So in reality, not only will a person receive the 362, they can also receive the additional 600, so a total of 962 in weekly benefits. The other thing is that it did expand eligibility to people who are self-employed, even 1099 contractors. And I've had some questions even with our own part-time employees here at the Chamber. Can they also receive unemployment insurance benefits? And the answer is yes. If you're partially employed, you also can apply for benefits. I've had a lady who, she called me yesterday and said she was a hairdresser, and then also works in a Youth Quest program in the afternoon. But because salons are closed, she could no longer generate money from her self-employment business. So absolutely, she can apply for uninsurance agency benefits, unemployment assistance. So one of the things that the director did say is that because the system is so overwhelmed, the best way is to go to the michigan.gov website, or they can call the number, which is 866-500-0017. to apply for benefits. He did break down that people who have the last name starting with A through L should apply on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And people who have the last name starting with M through Z should apply on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And Saturday is open to all people to be able to apply. They are recommending that you should apply during off-peak hours between 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. And I would recommend doing the same because during the day, the system has just truly been crashing. But he is looking to hire more people. They're trying to work out all the bugs in the system to provide a little bit more assistance for all those people who are impacted by this pandemic. Thanks.
Thanks, Nicole. Sorry, the beauty of doing these, my dog was barking. The doorbell rang. Thanks again, Nicole. Next, I'd like to hand it over to Adrian Walker for some updates on legislation.
Yeah, well, good afternoon, everyone. And Steve, I promise you it wasn't me at your door. I just wanted to take this time to just give a brief update on everything that's been going on the legislative front. But to first and foremost, just give kudos to all of our elected officials at the state and federal level and their staff, because they went above and beyond in terms of helping us understand all of the executive orders, any of the directives, and especially lately with the different bills coming out at the federal level, helping us understand what's within all of the packages. So definitely wanted to give them a huge kudos for all of their efforts. We've also been joining a lot of the town halls as well that our federal and also state representation has been holding. For the purposes of today's call, I just want to give a very high-level update of the three packages that have come through at the federal level as it relates to the COVID response. The first package was a $8.3 billion package in terms of emergency funds to accelerate vaccine funding and buy more personal protective equipment for the frontline healthcare workers. Again, that passed at the beginning of March. The second package was basically what Nicole has spoke about with the Families First Coronavirus Response Act that did a number of things in terms of, yes, the paid and family sick leave, but also strengthening the food assistance and the free coronavirus testing for all that needed it. And then more recently, we've had this past Friday was the CARES Act that passed with a lot of stuff within it. I know at the federal level, even though there's been a lot of stuff to come out there, they're still working heavy to help us understand what implementation looks like. Some of the things that are within that package is the direct payments. And this is the bill that 1,200 of direct payments dollars will be going up to individuals with incomes of up to $75,000 per year, and they'll begin to phase out after the $75,000 up to $99,000. So if you make above that mark, you won't be eligible for that direct payment. In addition, there'll be an additional $500 per child up to the age of 17, and if it's a joint household, it goes up to the 75 goes up to 150,000 for the joint households. Nicole touched on the expanded unemployment provision that was included within this act as it relates to the gig employments and the extension, the additional 13 weeks, taking it from 26 to 39 weeks. And also within this bill is huge support for small business to the sum of $350 billion in the form of the Paycheck protection program. And I know Tyler will be talking a little bit more about that in regards to his update. Again, we're still working a lot with our partners at the federal and the state level to understand implementation and what that looks like. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me directly if you have any questions that I may not be able to answer during the Q&A portion.
Thanks, Adrian. I've added all of our email addresses to the Zoom chat, as well as on our Facebook. So you have all of that available to you now. Welcome, Tyler. I know you joined us a few minutes late, but we're doing a round of updates. I'd like to pass it to you. I know that you are crazy busy. Take it away.
Well, I'm running around as much as you can by staying home and staying safe in my basement office. But no, yeah, I'm sorry I was late. I was actually coming from a very similar meeting with Grand Blanc Township and some of their businesses. So I want to just talk about cash for a minute for small businesses. Like Adrian has said, and like Nicole was saying, there's a lot going on at the federal level. There's a lot of effort to get small businesses cash. The first thing is, and I'll just let, what you heard from Nicole is absolutely correct. Obviously, she's the expert. I want to just underscore that inside of that Families First Coronavirus Response Act, if you have an employee that needs to go on leave, there are tax credits available for you to be able to pay that extra leave that you'll be required to pay. There's also refundable programs where if you can use your Social Security withholding and other tax withholdings to pay the leave costs. So I just want to underscore that. And then the big act, the CARES Act, some people call it the Stimulus Act. It's really just stabilization. We know it's tough out there right now. There are kind of like two main programs inside that act, and there was also the beefing up of two new programs inside that act and the beefing up of the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. So 3 programs that can get companies money. So those are the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. That is a loan up to $2 million for any small business in the state of Michigan that has experienced economic injury as a result of COVID-19. That's a 30-year loan at 3.75%, and you can apply at sba.gov/disaster. sba.gov/disaster. The new thing that happened with that program on Tuesday, they changed the application process. So if you had applied before, you have to apply again, which is frustrating. But the good news is with that redesign, they put in there a provision that's a $10,000 advance, cash advance. And this is a part of your loan, but if you are denied the loan, it's forgiven. And they're trying to get you the $10,000 within 3 days. So you put in your bank account information. So everyone should apply for the SBA Economic Injury Disaster Loan and get that $10,000 advance as soon as possible. The next thing is the Paycheck Protection Program, PPP, that Adrian kind of hinted on. This is going to be where the Economic Injury Disaster Loan was directly with the SBA. The PPP is going to be with your local bank. So they're working with, the SBA is working to get the rules all written. We've heard reports that this could be available on Friday, Monday, but you're going to apply from your bank for a Paycheck Protection Program loan. And that is up to 250% of the normal payroll for a month. So in other words, they're giving you 8 weeks of payroll. And if you use that to pay payroll, it will be forgiven. The loan will be forgiven. That's another way to get cash. It's going to be directly with your bank. And the last program is if you are a small business that already has an SBA loan, they're called the 7A program or the 504 program. The federal government will pay your principal and interest, your mortgage payment, for the next 6 months. It's a very powerful program. So those are a couple things that keep businesses, that get businesses cash, that allow them to keep cash. And the overall arching point of wisdom that I have is, if you have a cash crunch or you need money right now, call your bank, because we can talk about all these federal loan programs and everything, but it's the federal government and it's bureaucratic and it's confusing. The banker can help you, and the banks have been coming up with their own creative programs to help you keep and conserve cash. So my best advice is call your banker, and the next best advice is apply for that $10,000 cash advance. That's all I got right now.
Tyler.
Yeah.
Now is time for your questions. If you've got anything, submit it here through Zoom, through the chat, or Facebook Live. We're monitoring both of those. One question that I'm thinking about, Tyler, the SBA Paycheck Protection Program, the loans, are 501c3s, are nonprofits eligible for those?
Yes, I've heard private nonprofits are eligible for both the disaster loan and the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program. Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah.
Yep,
Careful.
they're all available, and including the nonprofits are available for the $10,000 advance from the Economic Injury Disaster Loan.
Good.
So a couple other things is
go ahead.
About the Paycheck program. You know, after the crisis went down and we all got the stay-at-home announcement, some companies laid off their employees, and the payroll protection program, Paycheck Protection Program, is retroactive to February 15th. So whatever you had on payroll on February 15th, you can bring those people back and use this program to pay them for the next 8 weeks. So the idea here is that hopefully in the next 8 weeks we get through this, that we can snap back and you'll already have your staff on the payroll ready to go once we're ready to turn the economy back on.
Here we go. First question, is the state putting a cap on the number of $10,000 cash advances given out?
Kind of froze there for a second. I guess that's to me. Just, I don't want to give a civics lesson, but the SBA is not with the state, it's with the federal government. So the state has nothing to do with it. And there is, the cap on the advance is $10,000. You might get less than $10,000, but you can get up to a $10,000 advance from the federal government.
Next question, can a small business get both PPP and EIDL?
Great question. The guidance I've been given is yes. They cannot be used for the same expenses though. So one recommendation would be, well, the first recommendation would be talk to your banker. The second recommendation from a chamber economic developer would be apply for the EIDL, get the $10,000 advance, use that loan for post 8 weeks. So apply for the EIDL, get the cash now. Second, apply for the PPP, use that to pay your payroll for 8 weeks, get it forgiven each time you pay, get it forgiven. And then if this crisis goes beyond 8 weeks, use the EIDL money to pay payroll.
Great question.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just linger here as they come in. Okay, here's another one. If the employee was already cleared for unemployment and off for 10 days, now do they come back and cancel unemployment if awarded PPP?
Nicole, do you have a thought on that?
If they're receiving unemployment benefits, well, one thing, no employee can double dip. So if they're receiving unemployment benefits, one will have to stop in order for them to receive the PPP payment compensation.
Okay, yeah. but the goal of the PPP is that you could bring them back and pay them on payroll.
Directly.
Mhm.
Let's see. What about the 20? Here's another one. What about the 20 million for Michigan? 10 million in grants, 10 million in loans. We'll start there, Tyler.
So the applications were due last Sunday. Is this the one for just described? This is totally different. The 10 million in grants for the state of Michigan was Governor Whitner's response right away after the stay at home, stay safe issue was issued, or the directive was issued. Then the federal government finally came around on Friday last week. So what the payroll protection program, the EIDL, the small business debt relief, those are all federal programs, totally different than the state small grant program. We're talking billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars through the federal government as opposed to a couple million.
And the second half, did you catch this part? So applications that were due last Sunday. Do you want to touch on that very briefly?
Yeah, the applications that were due last Sunday were for the state program.
Mm-hmm.
The federal government, there is no deadline. The sooner the better for your business.
Okay. Again, we're just going to hang out here for a couple more minutes. Anything that has popped in for Adrian or Alaina, Nicole? Anything that are any questions have?
Yeah, Stephen, I've had a couple of employers ask me if they can ask if their employees are exhibiting symptoms. And what we're recommending as HR professionals is that, yeah, you can ask, you know, do you have a fever or cough or shortness of breath, but you cannot ask them if they have COVID-19 or coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
And so that can get into HIPAA privacy information. Another question is, can we tell employees who travel to stay home and quarantine themselves, even if they have no symptoms? So our recommendation is that we follow the guidance from the CDC. But if they are exhibiting symptoms at work, you can absolutely send them home because you want to protect your workforce and other employees who are working there. Another question that I've also heard is, what if an employee refuses to come to work because they generally have a fear that they're going to catch this virus because it is so highly contagious? How does an employer respond to a person's fear, even if they're not exhibiting symptoms or you've had nobody in the workplace that have tested positive? And so what we're saying is that we try to reassure your employees that you've done everything that you can to make the work environment safe. If you've hired a sanitation crew, if you're bleaching down your door handles, wiping off hard surfaces, you're providing gloves or even either other personal protection equipment for your employees, then you can try to reassure them that that you're doing everything possible to assure their safety in the workplace. But if they're still refusing, I mean, then you have to really default back on your attendance policies and hold employees accountable for that.
Nicole, one thing I've been hearing a lot about is that because the unemployment benefits are so valuable in the state of Michigan after the result of this increase from the federal government, what should employers keep in mind if people say, oh, I can make $24 an hour on unemployment and I'm only making $20 an hour working at the job or something like that? What do employers need to keep in mind if employees are walking off the job, not for safety reasons, but just because they think they can get a better deal on unemployment? Well,
one of the things that in order to receive that expanded benefit for the pandemic uninsurance benefit of $600 is that they truly have to meet the eligibility. And so if you know that your employee does not meet the eligibility requirements, then that's fraud. And so that is reportable, and it's an offense, and people can be fined and even receive jail time. And so just like any other with regular state unemployment benefits, if somebody is trying to defraud the system, they can also be fined. And then there's tax consequences too. They have to pay that money back as well. But all employers receive notices is when their employees file for benefits. So you will know if they file for benefits. And some people are even trying to file and they're still working, or they're getting paid to work at home. You know, they're teleworking, and then they say, "Oh, I can make an extra $900." No, that's not the case. So definitely be looking at your notices from UIA to make sure that you respond appropriately. And employers can also do these responses online. They don't have to send in paperwork.
Good. A couple more things in the chat. One note shared by our friend Aaron. If any employers do payroll through ADP, they've created a great report for calculating payroll for the PPP program. It's called CARES SBA PPP monthly payroll costs. So just a point of information. And then next question, if your business is shut down, does the employer have to automatically pay out the 80 hours of paid leave tomorrow?
No, this does not apply to employers who are closed.
Okay, good. Tyler, good. Yep, see you nodding. Will employers get unemployment credits from employees filing? I don't know if that question's incomplete, but
It's probably about the fact that a lot of these acts allow for credits, specifically in Michigan, and maybe Nicole can answer this better than I can, but the governor issued a directive that said effective through April 14th, employer must not be charged for benefit if an employee is unemployed due to COVID-19. She's trying to give a break to the employers that have employees that are unemployed.
Correct. It's not going to impact their UI tax rate.
Steve, you're on mute.
sorry, my dog is barking again. I'm not seeing any more questions on either of our streams. Oh, just kidding. Did I understand right? To qualify for SBA loan, you have to have a good credit rating. And if you can get a loan from your bank or credit union, you are not eligible.
So these are all loans. So you're probably going to have to show that you are capable of taking a loan. But for the EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, you can apply. And if you are denied, you still get that $10,000 advance. So what I would say is apply for the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. And even if you're denied for bad credit or whatever, you can get that advance. It's from that's what I understand today. The PPP, you're going to have to work with a bank. And so it's going to be like any other kind of loan process, I would imagine.
One more question. This one's for you, Tyler. Is Tyler really Superman?
Yeah, I put my curl down. It wasn't balding.
That's your disguise.
He tucked in his cape.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I'm not seeing any others. We'll go ahead and wrap it up. As I said, everybody's email has been shared on Facebook and through the chat. Feel free to reach out to anyone directly. We're going to make this a recurring webinar, so we'll be back here next week with the most current updates for you. Any of the breaking news, so to speak, we're making sure to get that out in our emails. You should be receiving those on Mondays and Thursdays. If you want to be added to the list, email me directly, or you can subscribe through our website. Am I missing anything from anyone?
Yep.
Here's another question. On the Michigan loans, they were making a determination today. When and how will they be notifying small businesses?
They'll be notifying small businesses within the next 24 hours, and that will be by email. That's specifically on the grants. I don't know about the loans. That's going to probably take longer.
Okay. Perfect. All right, great. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thank you, Tyler and Alaina and Nicole and Adrian, for that info. Again, reach out to us directly. We're here for you. We're working practically around the clock. I don't know what regular business hours are anymore, but we're available for you. We'll see you next week. Thanks so much.